special announcement, breaking news announcement, some information on a new MMA promotion coming out. And so now here is the time. Here is the time to learn more. And we've got a lot of information coming your way. So sit back, relax, strap on your seatbelt. It was almost exactly 3 years ago today. Would you believe it? 3 years ago today, December 8th, 2021. Today is December 11th, 2024. On December 8th, 2021, on the old MMA Hour program, we had a gentleman named Darren Owen on the show, and he announced a lot of information regarding the World Fight League. You may recall in September of 2021, on the Substack, we wrote a whole bunch of stuff about this new promotion coming out. Well, then he came on 3 months later and laid out all the plans and told us that the plan was in February of 2023 for it to officially launch. I think the date off the top of my head was February 5th, 2023. Well, that date has come and gone, but now he is coming back, and he is here to talk about the launch of the Global Fight League. They've got the plans, they've got the dates, they've got the venues, they've got the fighters. It appears to all be coming together. And so without further ado, let us say hello once again to Darren Owen. There he is. Hello, Darren. Hello again. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you.
Good to have you back. It's been amazingly 3 years to the day that you were last on with us. And on that day, we talked about the World Fight League. Today, you are here to announce a whole host of things. And the plans have changed just a little bit. Obviously, the dates have come and gone. But I want to give the floor to you to announce what you want to announce.
Yeah, thanks, Ariel. Appreciate it very much. In September, we secured our seed round of financing to actually launch the league. Lots of things have obviously changed over the last few years. A lot of things are obviously still the same as far as what we're looking to do, as far as the format, the structure, and all of that. And we're ready now. So we've got venues booked, we've got fighters signed, and it's go time.
Okay, so and it is the Global Fight League, yes?
Yeah. So our trademark, that was obviously a number of things kind of happened over the years, but shortly after it came on your show, the trademark got challenged in Europe. World Fight League, so that prompted the change to Global Fight League. That was a bit of a process, and then just kind of getting everything that needed to be in place before we really started to sign any fighters, and it just took a lot longer. It took significantly longer to raise the necessary funds to launch, and it's been a grind, but never quit, never give up, just kept moving forward. Dream never died, vision never stopped. So thrilled to finally be underway in operation and ready to go.
And so is that part of the reason why, when we spoke in 2021, you said that the plan was February of 2023. Why did that date come and go?
The funding wasn't in place. That's pretty much what it came down to. And, I think it's somewhat of a blessing in disguise. I think we're in a lot better position now, just as far as the industry goes. I've brought on a legitimate team of non-MMA individuals that have experience across all the major professional sports leagues. So, the idea was there, the passion and motivation was there, but, a lot of the fundamentals that needed to be in place to launch a league at the level we were planning to do it just weren't all in place at that time. And it just took a little more time to get to where we needed to be.
I asked you 3 years ago about the backing, and so you've alluded to some of the people who are backing this venture. And I don't want to call it a promotion because you corrected me last time that it's not a promotion. It's more of an organization, and the structure is more akin to a professional sports league, if you will. Could I ask about who is behind this? Obviously, we know you're the founder, you're the face of it all, but who is actually behind this?
Our main investors are tech entrepreneur out of Silicon Valley. He's our partner on our app we're launching with the league. That's our big financer. We've had some other, friends and family people help out along the way, but for the most part, that was the one we were waiting for to kind of fill up that round to really just have everything we needed to launch and do it the right way.
And can I ask specifically who that is?
I don't know if he wants his actual name out there. Yeah, I don't think he wants his name.
Okay.
Announced.
Some people do, some people don't. But
yeah, so I've told a couple people, and then ultimately what happens is everyone starts hitting him up and trying to sell him X, Y, and Z. So just not interested in.
Totally understand. Totally understand. Okay, so what is it? What is the Global Fight League?
So we're launching 6 global teams, 4 different continents, and we're launching our proof of concept season starting in April. We have multiple venues booked in multiple different cities around the world. We're embracing our flexibility to begin with and doing that 50-50 revenue share, the team versus team, proof of concept season, and it's finally lined up. We have 300 fighters signed as of right now. Our draft is January 24th. On those 6 teams, there's 20 athletes per each roster, so we'll sign 120 of the actual fighters that have signed, and then we'll get underway with events in April.
Okay, so there's a lot there. Can I ask, where are the 6, when you say teams, if you can specify what that is, and where are they located?
So we're not announcing the teams yet. We're going to announce the teams, the names, and the logos early in the new year.
Okay.
We have like 10 different cities booked. So what's kind of been happening is we announced to some of the fighters and managers some of the locations. We are kind of being counter-programmed venue-wise. So we're kind of just keeping everything quiet until our whole season is locked in and ready to be announced.
Countered by who?
Just some of the venues that we had talked to or booked by other big promotions.
Okay.
So almost theoretically, we're kind of blocked out of some locations, so we didn't want to go out and announce where we're going.
Understood. How many fighters are on each team?
20.
20 fighters.
10 weight categories, 2 fighters per each weight category. So each team will have a set of teammates in each of the 10 weight categories. So 7 men's weight divisions, 3 women's weight divisions.
And so I'm assuming heavyweight, light heavyweight, middleweight, welterweight, lightweight, featherweight, bantamweight. So are we just staying at bantamweight? Okay.
Correct.
And then is it 115, 125, 135 for women?
No. So what we're doing, we really want to eliminate extreme weight cutting and obviously, tackle as many of the issues as we realistically can. So our weight divisions are not historically how they are. So like our bantamweight is 145, featherweight's 155. So everything kind of goes up by 10 pounds. Middleweight's 200, light heavyweight's 225.
Oh.
And then our 3 women's divisions, it's 120, 130, 140.
Wow. And is that okay with the commissions? Like, because the unified rules of MMA kind of state that those should be the numbers, like 115, 125, 135.
Yeah, either we'll just do everything as a catch weight and we're just calling it the GFL weight categories are going to remain the historical weight categories. So if a fighter's been a welterweight their entire career, they'll be a GFL welterweight. However, they'll weigh in at 180 instead of 170.
Okay. And I'm assuming the teams are like, the Los Angeles, just throwing a name out there, like the Los Angeles.
Major global cities around the world.
Yeah. Do I have to be a Los Angeles-based fighter to be? No, it's just anyone.
Yeah, just like how every other major professional sport is, you're going to have athletes from anywhere in the world competing on those teams. We are going to have head coaches. We've signed some, world-class head coaches to coach these teams. We're not forcing the athletes to move and relocate or anything like that. We're giving them the ability to, hey, if you want to move to, let's just say LA, and let's just say train with Rafael Cordero as our head coach, you have the ability to do that. If you want to stay wherever you live and train with your head coach, we're not looking to, change any of those bonds that have existed for years and years between fighter and coach.
And then when the fight happens, are you allowed to be coached by your own team, or do you have to be coached by the team assigned?
So, yeah, you're coached by your own team. And same thing, if you want an extra, that head coach in your corner or pre-event helping strategize or whatever, giving any input, they're there and available for that. If that's not something you're interested in as an athlete, you don't have to take advantage of that if you don't want to.
Okay. And so you mentioned about 300 fighters signed?
Yeah.
But there's a draft coming up and only, forgive me, 120 or 120 are going to be selected. So what happens to the other 180?
Free agents. They're currently free agents now. So we've put promotional agreements in place. Them signing our agreement allows them draft eligibility. So that means essentially we know what their purse amount is. We know what their revenue share percentage is. And if we come to terms, then they're eligible. Their exclusivity window doesn't start until February 1st. So we haven't prevented any fighters from taking any fights. And if they're not selected to a team and they won't be a roster GFL athlete, they're free to do whatever they want, like they've always have been.
Are you prepared to announce any of the fighters that are a part of this 300 or so fighter pool?
Absolutely.
Okay, this is the good stuff. What do we got? Who do we got?
We got names. Luke Rockhold, Tyrone Woodley, Vanderlei Silva, Anthony Pettis, Kevin Lee, Frank Mir, Fabricio Verdun, Junior Dos Santos. We've got Hector Lombard, Benson Henderson. There you go.
All right, so these are some of the top 50. Woodley, Verdun, Pettis, Alexei Oleinik, JDS, Hector Lombard, Luke Rockhold, Abubakar Nurmagomedov, Vanderlei Silva, Alex Gustafsson, the former UFC title contender. There's more. Thiago Santos, Andre Arlovski, Lucas Martins, Gabriel Souza, Kevin Lee, Frank Mir, B. Nguyen, Charles Rosa, Alan Belcher. These are of the top 50 followed. Ilia Latifi, Jeremy Stevens, Marlon Moraes, Benson Henderson. All these guys, Gegard Mousasi, all these guys are on board.
All these guys are signed.
And there's more. Greg Hardy and Rafael Carvalho and Lance Palmer and Bubba Jenkins and Phil Hawes, Robles Despine, Marcus Perez. Is there more?
There's more.
That's all we have. But there is more. There is more. And so when they say, like, those guys are all, like, you draft them, they're in.
Yep.
Wow. That's, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is, like, it's expensive to have those names.
Yep.
But you guys, you have the funding, you're ready to go.
We're funded. We're 100% ready to launch. Everything's in line that needed to be in line. We've waited as long as we needed to wait to get to this point, and now it's time. You know, our funding came in September, so since then it's been go time, put everything into place, and here we are.
So you mentioned the schedule. Can you tell us when do you expect to start?
April.
April. Do you have a date locked in?
We have 4 dates locked in April, and then just depending on, you know, there's some big names still out there that we're talking to, and we obviously want to set ourselves up in the best position to launch and, you know, figure all that out. But we have multiple venues booked in different cities, and then based on the teams and the matchups, we'll decide where it's the most logical to launch first and how many events in which cities.
So today you're not going to announce dates, venues, etc.
No.
Okay.
Just April start.
Got it.
That's when our season starts.
Big question, obviously, is how can people watch this? And usually the success of an organization, a league, a promotion, is tied to their rights deal, their TV rights deal,
100%.
Their streaming rights deal. Do you have one secured?
We have the ability to stream on our own platform. So that's first and foremost. Is if we don't secure the necessary deal with the right partner, then we have the ability to do all that on our own. If the right deal does come along with the right partner that it does make sense, then we'll take that deal. So it's either the bird in the hand, or we'll take the two in the bush with taking all the profits ourselves from our own app.
Are you close to securing something with a streaming platform or a broadcast network?
We've had kind of early conversations. The plan was to obviously kind of like break the news, announce all the fighters that we have signed. Those are obviously the valuable assets. It's the collection of those names and their following and their careers and what they've done. And this is just the platform to give them, something to showcase their, what they do and their skill set. But January is the plan to have actually all those official meetings and pitches and see how it goes from there.
When does the app launch?
When the league launches.
Okay.
So we're, same in conjunction with the league launch.
So if you don't secure a deal that you like, you guys are prepared to air this on your app. It's a lot of money being left on the table. No, I mean, you can make a significant amount of money from a deal. Are you comfortable with that?
If the deal makes sense, 100% we're going to take it. If one of these major streaming providers come out and say like, hey, we know how valuable live sports content is. We see the value in a global league where you have fighters from all over the world that have their own following. And, you saw what Tyson and Jake Paul just did as far as numbers go. So the fact that, this is about, securing the most popular fighters in the world, giving them a logical platform to perform on, and obviously see what the best deal is. We're obviously looking to secure the most revenue, and however we do that, the benefit is every fighter benefits from any revenue we bring in. So come January 24th, we're going to have 120 salespeople that are also pushing to help this drive, and as they are true equitable partners with the league.
I remember when we first spoke, you told me that there'll be owners for each team. But now that you mentioned the investor, have plans changed? Is it just like, is everyone owned by one entity?
Starting off as a single entity,
Okay.
It was just honestly too difficult to try to get 8 individuals to participate, to get on the same page. Nobody wanted to be the first team to buy in. We have some LOIs in place with a couple different individuals who want to buy a team, have committed to buying a team, but we're at a place now where we don't need that funding. And we believe that if we do this ourselves and execute the way we're confident that we can, we're only going to drive the revenue or the value of these teams up and then take them to market when we've established, a proof of concept season, and, just we're selling something that's way more valuable than just an idea.
So can you break down how it all works, like with the season and the playoffs and the points and all that stuff? Because that's a little different as well.
Yeah, so as far as the season, with all the venues and everything we have, we have what we are planning to do, and we're just kind of putting that all into place with all the different venues. It's a fairly complicated, global schedule to put together. We're being flexible in the fact that wherever these home city teams are, we're not necessarily hosting all of the events in those cities. So like how the NFL has games in London and Brazil, we'll be doing the same thing. So you could see 2 US-based teams competing in Tokyo, Stockholm, wherever.
Okay. And then it's like a point system, right? With playoffs and all that?
Yeah, so how the point system works, fairly simple. There's 4 points available for every fight. 4 points for the finish win, 3 points for decision win, 2 points for a draw, 1 point for decision loss, and 0 points if you get finished.
Okay. And then it's just basically like standings at that point.
Yeah. So the total accumulative at the end of the regular season, they're bracketed in the playoffs, and you just run out the bracket that we're all so used to.
Do all 6 teams make the playoffs?
No, top 4.
Okay. And 3 years ago, I had mentioned to you that just being candid, that, I don't feel like the team format works in combat sports. I said it to you back then. I feel just the exact same way now. In fact, perhaps I feel even stronger. I know PFL isn't team, but this type of format with the standings and whatnot is sort of like the PFL. And we saw the team format with the IFL. I'll ask you again, why am I wrong here? Why is this going to work? Because I feel like it's about rivalries. It's about stories. I don't feel like the team system and format works in mixed martial arts. Why am I wrong?
Well, I think you just said it right there with rivalries and stories. So the fact that we're able to create unique storylines that have never existed in the sport. And that's, one thing that we keep hearing is, everyone loves the sport of MMA, but the storylines are often not there. Where this brings is, the talking points, are these 2 fighters going to be teammates, or are they going to potentially be fighting? And, just different strategies that come in, different betting elements that come in. Just that, like, the number one driver in sports fandom, proven, is cheering for your favorite team. Favorite teams have never really existed in the sport of MMA. So we're just creating what already exists, and you see it across all the major professional leagues in the world. And this is just the implementation of that team-based league model for the 3rd most popular sport in the world. And the fact that we have these popular athletes who people already are emotionally invested in, or know their name, or know their story and their background, I think that's going to be the difference maker with us is, we're going to have wild matchups that, people wouldn't expect to see. But also we're going to have the best global top prospects available and having them competing as well. So you're going to have this contrast of, established veterans, that household MMA names that people recognize, but then we're also going to showcase the next generation of up and coming talent from all around the world.
A lot of the new fans may not remember the IFL. I certainly do. Can you tell me why this is different than the IFL?
Yeah, number one, just the structure of it. So IFL, again, was a promotion. They operated as such. They also didn't go all in on their team versus team. There would often be 3 or 4 fights from one gym versus another gym, and then they would have super fights or, featured fights. So it wasn't an all in on the, hey, team versus team. I also think that the time of where the world was when the IFL originally launched. But I think they were onto something. I've talked to a lot of guys who were part of the IFL and they loved it. They loved the concept. They loved the idea. So this is, in some way, just a different way of doing that, but going all in on the actual way to what I believe to do it and to do it right.
And the economics,
also the revenue shares is
right,
I think are game changer.
Okay, and so and that's 50%.
Correct. So whatever revenue we receive, whether it's media rights deals, sponsorships, ticket sales, all of that, 50% goes into the fighter revenue pool from that specific event. And then those fighters that are on that event are the ones who share in that revenue percentage. And obviously every fighter is not equal. So every negotiation is their base guaranteed pay. We also have a win increase. So we don't do the show win, half your money here, half your money there. It's hey, this is what you're getting, worst case scenario to show up and do your job. And if you're successful, the next time you show up, your pay increases. So your guarantee increases. And athletes get paid either or, whatever's greater, their guaranteed amount or their revenue share percentage. So someone might have a $50,000 guaranteed purse, and they earn 1% revenue share. But if there's 10 million in that revenue pool for that event, then they're going to receive 100,000 instead of what they were thinking was 50,000.
Can fighters wear sponsors?
No.
Okay.
However, they get 50% of all of our sponsorship revenue. So by, keeping exclusive sponsorships on our uniforms and everything else, we're obviously going to increase the value of that to as much as we can possibly get and share all of that with the athletes as well.
Are you guys going to do pay-per-view?
Yet to be seen. Everything's kind of open and right now. We have the ability to go pay-per-view. We have the ability to do subscription on our app, or we'll take a deal if it's there and if it makes sense.
Are you going to be like the face, the for lack of a better example, the Dana White of the organization? Are you the guy that's going to be standing there facing people off, or is there another face?
It'll be me for now.
Okay. Last time when we spoke, you said February 5th, you had the date and all that. Can you say definitively this is launching in April of 2025?
Yeah, we needed the money. It's finally there. That was kind of the thing holding us back before. We had a lot of momentum. We had a lot of support. We were having a lot of conversations. I was, if you asked me at the time, what are the chances you think you're going to get the funding in? I probably would have said 99%. And I've eaten some humble pie over the past few years to just really set this thing up in a way where we can't fail.
Okay. Is there anything that I didn't ask you about?
Retirement, revenue share, or insurance funds. That's the other thing I'd love to let it be known that we're including a retirement element and insurance fund for all of our athletes as well.
Okay. And so is it like a percentage goes into this pot?
Yeah.
How does it work?
Yeah. So whatever their total pay is for that fight, 8% is contributed to their retirement fund and 2% is contributed to their insurance fund. And then they have the ability to choose whether they want their own private insurance or however they want to use those funds.
Okay. How many events in 2025?
We'll let you know.
Okay. All right. And exclusive contracts? Like once it kicks in, once you're drafted, you're fighting for you guys.
Yep.
But everyone's deal is different. One guy can have X amount, X years, whatever it is.
Yeah, like everyone's different as far as their purse amount, their percentage amount. Some fighters are, interested in having only 2 fights in a season. Some want to be as active as possible. So there's a few different, elements to it, but for the most part, it's, everyone's been super supportive and excited to finally get this underway.
All right. Well, congratulations. Thank you for coming on. Thanks for sharing all of this with us. We mentioned 2 names that are going to be joining us in a matter of seconds. That's Anthony Pettis and Kevin Lee. For now, though, again, thank you. Congrats. And to a degree, I also say good luck because, now the fun really starts. Now you're about to launch into outer space. So we will be watching and covering and seeing how it all unfolds. Thank you, Darren.
Thanks, Ariel. Always appreciate you.
All right, there he is, Darren Owen, the founder of the Global Fight League. And in a matter of moments, we're going to be joined by the aforementioned Anthony Pettis and Kevin Lee, 2 of the fighters of the many that we just showed who are apparently tied to this Global Fight League. And I wanted to do this because last time we just had Darren on and we left it at that. Now they have all these fighters who they say have signed, committed. Well, I'd like to hear from the fighters, who a lot of them have fought for other organizations. They've heard it all. They've seen it all. How do they feel about this? Do they believe? I'll say the same thing that I said to him. And it's the same thing I talked about PFL. I have skepticism when it comes to the teams, when it comes to the format, when it comes to the standings, when it comes to all these things and more. I feel quite strongly about the way the fight game operates and should operate. But God bless them. Good luck. And obviously good to have, options out there for the fighters first and foremost. Good to have that security. Good to have that protection. They are offering a lot of things that we talk about on this show when it comes to revenue share and security for the fighters and whatnot. And so, without further ado, let us say hello.
Wait, I've been actually itching to hit the breaking news button, so let's do that while we are continuing to frame up the guest.
Okay, I was just told that we had the guest. Is this gonna be enough time? That was long enough to frame up the guests, or do I have to keep going more? I'm not sure.
We're good now.
Oh, now we're good. Okay, well, thank you for that, Frank. You probably should have done that at the beginning of all of this. Now let us say hello to Anthony Showtime Pettis and the Motown phenom himself, Kevin Lee. There he is. Good to see you both. Very much appreciate it. Kevin, it's been a while, my friend. Great to talk to you. And thank you, Anthony, for the time as well. Kevin, let me start with you. We just heard from Darren everything. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have both of you on, I wanted to have 2 big name fighters on. I wanted to hear it from you guys. If you believe in all of this, if you're on board, it's one thing to hear it from, an executive. It's another to hear it from the guys who are actually competing. So are you on board? Are you signed? Is everything that you heard him say legit?
Yeah, I'm in on it. We've had a couple conversations and I like the energy that the man puts out. And then even when you get down to the contracts, I'm a veteran in the game now, so I've seen big contracts. I've seen from smaller promotions, all types of stuff. And when you go over the contract, it's very clear on what they can and can't do, and there's a lot of incentive for us, which we don't get in other promotions. When you start talking about the 50-50 revenue share and everything kind of being up front and center, these are things that I think have been big problems in MMA for a long time. We all know that they're big problems. And finally, somebody is actually trying to tackle this thing. So when I saw the contract, and I went over like all the details about it, it made a lot of sense. It's great promotion for us. It's a great reason for us to go out and promote because now we actually get a split of what we bring at home instead of just a hope and a dream.
Anthony, you're a veteran. You're a former champ. You have fought for a bunch of different promotions. You are a promoter yourself. Are you on board? And if so, why?
Yeah, I'm on board. I mean, obviously, the opportunity for these fighters to have other organizations to go to is it's huge for me as where I'm at in my career to see these younger fighters have opportunities to go other places besides just one place. We haven't seen anything like this. Revenue splits at 50%. I have my own organization, APFC. To be able to share revenue percent splits like that with the fighters is unheard of so far. And like Kevin said, I've seen the contract. It's pretty clear cut what we're getting. And then I'm a prize fighter. They came with an opportunity that was very lucrative for myself and for my family. And the back end of that, if these things pick up, these fighters are in a great position to make a lot of money.
Kevin, how do you feel about the team format and the draft and the league and all that stuff? It's a little bit different. It's akin to the IFL from back in the day and a little bit like the PFL, but it's not traditional to what MMA fans know when you think of the UFC or Strikeforce or Bellator, etc.? How do you feel about it?
I like it. I like that, maybe now we can have some unity amongst fighters, and we can kind of have, if you got a team of 20 guys, now you got 19 guys that can back you in negotiations and who you fight and when you fighting, and maybe now we can actually have some unity behind it. I think that's something that's been missing in MMA for a long time. It's just been, you against the world almost. Every man for himself. And now maybe we can actually do something with it. I think there's some details that need to be ironed out as far as, who's on what team and what the teams even are. But when the idea was approached to me, it sounds a little bit more like wrestling, like amateur wrestling, where you have, your individual championships, but then at the same time, everything going towards a team. And I know from competing in wrestling, that gives you a little bit added motivation as a competitor. It gives you a little bit something else behind it because now you got 19 guys that are dependent on you. And having a team trophy it was a big thing, even in college wrestling when money wasn't involved. So now that money is involved and all of this other stuff, I think it's going to be good for the sport.
Anthony, we showed a lot of the names that have committed, such as the two of you, and there's some legends there, some former champions, some former, massive stars, UFC and other organizations. Any trepidation, hesitancy just about the money? Because, Darren wouldn't tell us who the money is behind all of this, and I'm not saying I don't believe him that there's money behind all of this, but the fight game, people throw around money. We saw it with Affliction. They had 2 shows and they went away. Any trepidation about this?
I mean, it's interesting. I know what the contracts that I signed, the contracts I'm getting. I mean, they're coming in very fair. And to say that it's not going to last or it is going to last, we have yet to see. But so far, I'll say this, Ariel, the checks have cashed. So they've done some stuff that we've made sure that was official, and so far we're in business.
Okay, yeah, and I see Tyron Woodley at the top of the list. I was working with him last month for that Jake Paul Mike Tyson card, and he was telling me the checks have cashed. They've been great. They have said everything that they've told me they were going to do, they are doing, and then some. Do you have the same experience so far, Kevin?
Yeah, same experience. And couple people have brought that up, like, oh, is this really going to be a thing? How long is it going to last? We've seen it with other promotions and this and that. But I remember a lot of people saying that about the PFL too, and they're on their 5th season and they're making millionaires. Every day that I'm down at Kill Cliff, I see what guys are pulling up in. I see how people are what they are. They making money in PFL, and I feel like this can be the same thing if we all get behind it, and if they got serious backers, and if they got serious people, meaning us, behind it, then it's gonna be a thing. We're gonna make it a thing, and like you said, the checks have been cashed. He hasn't gone back on no word that he gave to me. And that gave me a little bit more, clarity in the whole thing.
Anthony, Darren said that there's going to be a draft and people are going to be assigned to teams, and you don't have to necessarily train with that team, but it's an option, and you're kind of representing that team, if you will. What happens? And you guys are a little bit older now. I don't think you're trying to fight with people on the street and whatnot. But what happens if you get drafted to a team where you kind of just don't like the other guys on the team? Is that a potential issue?
I mean, it depends on the weight. There's the 2 guys per weight class. I guess you won't fight the guy in your weight class, so I think that might be an issue. But I mean, I see it as you're part of the team when you go to these events, but then most guys train at their home gyms anyways. I mean, the team format is going to be implemented when we're versus each other in team versus team, whether we're going to Brazil or we're going to Abu Dhabi or wherever we're going. That's where the team format happens. But guys like to train in their own gyms. Kevin trains in Florida. I train in Vegas. We're going to stay in our own gyms, but if we're on the same team, obviously it's incentives for us to both to do well.
I hope this succeeds. I hope every fighter gets paid. I think every fighter is underpaid. I think you guys deserve millions of dollars, and you deserve millions of dollars in back pay as well, and on it goes. And so I'm wondering for you, Kevin, why do you think this will work now? Why do you feel, where's the confidence coming from that this is going to work, that this is going to be the one? Because let's be honest, if this does work, this could revolutionize MMA with the 50-50 split. If fighters are actually truly going to get this and it can be sustainable, this can change everything. Where's the confidence coming from?
Yeah, I think, everything is in black and white, and that's how it goes. When you look at contracts and you compare it to, say, contracts in other organizations, it's just more clear cut, and it's like I said, it's in black and white. So I do think that this can change how contracts are made in the future, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's going to be a thing. And for me as an athlete, the biggest thing is the fights, right? Like fighting is something that I'm still seriously in love with. It's the only thing that can push me to the next level as a human being. It's made me a better person. It's made me a better man, a better fighter, a better husband, a better father, all of that stuff. So for me, as long as the fights are these are going to be serious fights. You know, you got guys like Anthony Pettis, you got Tyron Woodley, you got Gegard Mousasi, who's on the roster. I mean, any fight that Gegard is in, I'm watching that, and I know that it's going to be a serious fight. So as long as the fights are and everything there is there, it's going to be a big thing.
Anthony, did they promise you X amount of fights per year?
Yes. And it's an option too. So that's why it's dope. But Kevin was saying, man, it's very, and this is in the fighter's favor, man. So we have an option. They have to guarantee us a certain amount of fights. Well, with my contract, I'm sure everybody's contract is different, but there's a certain amount of fights that I have to have. That's an option. If I want to do them, if I don't want to do them, I get to decide if I want to fight this fight, sit out, let my teammate fight if I'm injured. So it's not like, like the PFL, you have to fight. And if you're not injured, you're out. If you're like, there's ways where you can be part of this team and be part of the tournament as long as you're, with your squad. If you're hurt, your guy goes in. But yes, I was promised a guaranteed amount of fights. In my contract, I still can box. I can still do karate combat. So I'm in a really good position where like I couldn't say no to this kind of a contract.
Okay, and for you, Kevin, are you exclusive to them, or do you have the ability to do other stuff?
I got the ability to box or do other things outside of MMA. Terrell Owens is Ocho Cinco's kind of out there talking a little bit, and he made videos talking about he can beat any Lee. So if that comes up and I end up boxing him or do some stuff outside of MMA, that's cool. And then I come back and can still compete in MMA, because MMA is the home. I mean, MMA is the real deal. The rest of these combat sports are, it's just fun and play. So they'll let me play. They'll let me go make some money. But this is the real deal.
By the way, just to be clear, you versus Terrell Owens or you versus Ocho Cinco?
Yeah, they're not the same person. I don't really follow box.
No, they're not the same person.
Much.
Terrell Owens is one guy.
Ocho Cinco is, he put my name in his mouth, and there might be something there. I don't know. I might see him down here in Miami and slap him up a bit.
Okay.
But, if he's not going to do MMA fight, so that's why I say they'll let me go and box him or something like that, but come back to MMA where my real home is and where the real fights are.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. I wanted to hear it from the fighters as well, and I think you guys have painted a really good picture. Have I missed anything? Is there anything else that you want to? Maybe I'm sure there's a million fighters who are going to hit up all the guys who are listed. Like, tell me more about this. Is there any detail that you guys think that I missed that should be shared with the world?
The retirement fund to me is a big one.
You go first,
that's
Kevin.
In black and white.
Yeah.
And it's there, and it's not just kind of put all on you, and you take care of yourself, and you're not signing as a 21-year-old guy who's never made money before and don't know what he's doing. You actually got lawyers and people behind you and contracts in place to where they are going to take care of you before, during, and after the fights. And so far, this is still in the before phase, but they've taken care of me before, and I got confidence that they're going to take care of me afterwards too.
Anthony, what did you want to say?
I said, I'm sure more stuff's going to roll out, but lightweight division's 165 pounds. That's a big one.
Oh, yeah.
That too.
Yes, we've been talking about that. Yeah, he said it was like 55, 65, 75, 85, and it sounds like you guys like that. Will you both be in the 65-pound division?
I'll be 65.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely.
This could be a fight. This could be one of the fights right here.
Yeah, we never fought.
Teammates, you never know. You never know. That's the beauty of it. You never know how it's going to play out. And I think, like Darren said, that's kind of one of the talking points on it. Are they going to be teammates? Are they going to be fighters? I got a massive amount of respect for Anthony Pettis. I damn near froze to death in Milwaukee coming up to try and train with him way back in the day in like 2013. He was one of the guys that I looked up to. And we had a nice little build up to a fight before he fought Tony Ferguson. So, it could go either way, which is the fun of the sport. Like, friends turn enemies, idols, rivals, you never know. So I think the whole thing could be fun, and it could be interesting for the fans and for us fighters.
Love it. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Good luck with this. Thank you very much, Anthony. Great to have you on again. And Kevin, great to talk to you as well. Hope everything is going great in your life, and wish you guys the best in 2025. And with the whole launch of all of this, is going to be really interesting. So thanks so much for coming on, guys. Appreciate it.
No doubt. Keep doing big things, Ariel. Keep doing big things. I see you out here.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that as well. There they are, Kevin Lee and Anthony Pettis. Great to catch up with them, and great to hear from them. Great to hear about all of this. A lot to digest. A lot to digest about the Global Fight League. We showed you a lot of the slides. There was the one slide with the like the playoffs and all that with the points. Let's take a look at that one more time if we can. He broke down the points. There it is. 4 points for a finish, 3 for a decision, 2 for a draw, 1 for a decision loss, 0 for a finish loss. Obviously, points contribute to the team's total score. And then I guess it's a bracket afterwards with the cities, the 6 cities, 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3 finalists. It starts up in April of 2025, and the draft kicks off on January 24th, 2025. And so that is going to be something to watch as well, coming up in a little over a month's time. All right, let's digest. I knew about some of this, but obviously, didn't speak to Darren and definitely didn't speak to the fighters beforehand. Rick, what do you think? Rick's usually the straight shooter. He'll tell us like it is. Your thoughts on all this information that has just been dumped on our laps?
I'm trepidatious from the perspective that this is a giant undertaking. That's my one thing.
It's massive.
Like, this is a massive thing. To try to upend the industry in this specific way is something that you just can't anticipate, right? And so I will say I'm almost like encouraged by the fact that they didn't launch in 2023 and the fact that they now are trying to get their ducks in a row 2 years after that, right? Like you talked about February 5th, 2023 being the potential launch. We're now about to be 2 years removed from that. That actually gives me a little bit of hope and a little bit of encouragement for their success in the perspective that they've now got 2 extra years of time having tried to solve the issues that are plaguing MMA. And then you just have to kind of like take it from the horse's mouth in terms of Kevin Lee and Anthony Pettis talking about the contracts and the agreements and the offers that they have been presented being favorable to the fighters. Now, the larger question that hangs over all of this is not specific to this league and not specific to any league at all. It's can an organization that has contracts that are favorable to the fighters in the way that this league has presented succeed, right? Because the UFC has become very successful because of their margins and not offering these contracts that are extremely favorable to the fighters. In fact, they are very not favorable to the fighters, to the point that the UFC is taking home the vast lion's share of that money and has made them ultimately extremely successful. Can a league that changes that paradigm, can a league that presents fighters with much more equitable contracts be successful? We will remain to be seen, but it seems like they have the funding to be able to do that, as Anthony said, and you said you spoke to Tyron Woodley. The checks have cleared so far, so the money is there, at least initially. Let's see if the fans turn out for it, right? All these things ultimately are secondary until the product launches and the fans either show up and watch. I don't know if their broadcast deal, will be on television or what, or show up to the arena to watch in the stands. If there is demand, and there are names here that I'm interested in still seeing fighting, if there is demand, we will see ultimately how much they're able to generate and what that percentage goes to the fighters, and if they're able to operate with the other 50%. If they can take that other 50% and make the business work, there could be something here. But this is a massive undertaking, and I'm not skeptical because of anything they are doing, but just the task ahead of them and anybody who's trying to enter this space.
Can I just say it was great to talk to Kevin Lee.
By the way, Kevin dropped a little nugget there. We could still hear him after.
Oh.
Gladiator 2 movie of the year. He heard us talking about it on the front.
What?
And he said, I need to, can anybody hear me right now? I need to tell you, I heard Moana, I heard Wicked, Gladiator 2 movie of the year. So shout out to Kevin Lee, who was watching earlier.
Yo, Kevin, much love, man.
Gladiator 2. Great film, so he's not wrong on that.
Yeah,
but,
I love Kevin.
It was good to see Kevin.
Yes.
And Anthony, I mean, these are, these are names that I care about. These are names that I still want to see compete, and names that, still get me to go, oh, that's interesting that they're fighting. So there's a lot of names on that roster that we saw and the signings that we saw that have that same effect. Can they ultimately get people to watch on their broadcast channels? Can they ultimately get people to fill arenas to watch them is going to be the make or break. But the signs are encouraging in terms of what the athletes are saying about what's been presented to them.
Fascinating stuff. Look, I think that, and tremendous breakdown, by the way. Thank you for that. I think it is fair to say I want to wait and see.
Yes.
Because skepticism, the team, the league, the history, and all that. But I say that also for this reason. We can't ignore the fact that 3 years ago, Darren was on the show and promised a lot. And I actually rewatched the interview 3 years ago. And this is not me taking a shot. I would say the same. And I've said the same to him privately as well. We need to actually see it now. And when I rewatched it this morning, obviously we've done a gazillion interviews since then. So a lot of the stuff was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. He was quite definitive about the February 2023 date. And remember, that interview was December of 2021. So it wasn't even like, oh, it's coming up in 3-4 months. It was a year and a half away, essentially, a year and like 3-4 months. And it didn't happen. And credit to him. He was very candid about that. It was about the funding, and I understand. But I want to see it happen now.
Can I say here's why I'm encouraged by that, though? And I said it a little bit, but I'll be more definitive.
Please.
It could have been a case where they say, we're launching February 5th, 2023, no matter what. And that could have been a disaster, right? You only get one shot at this. This is not the type of thing where you're going to get to start, stop. You're not going to get a start and then be able to resume. If they had launched in February 2023, I'm confident in saying they would not have been able to make this successful. The fact that they waited till the funding was secured and felt like they had the established money that they needed to fund this and felt like they had the systems in place to fund this, to me is an encouraging sign. I would actually have been more terrified of the idea if they did launch in February 2023. I almost feel like that extra time and the securing of that funding is responsible. They are taking a responsible path to try to do this properly. I'm truly encouraged by the fact that it took this long, I will say.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a nice way to put it. Let's see how it shakes out.
But as you said, the product is where this is going to live and die. That is it. We have to see it. You have to make it happen, and we have to see what happens from here.
I can't change my stance just because we got the exclusive and they came on the show, and I appreciate it very much. And it's a fascinating thing, and it's a privilege to just be able to rifle off these questions. Right? They can hold a press conference, they can hold a conference call. That's a privilege. But my stance is still the same. It cannot change until I feel otherwise or proven otherwise. I am skeptical that the team format, that the league format, that the playoff format, that the point system format, I am skeptical that that works. I fear that it does not work as far as MMA and combat sports are concerned. This is my fear. And so let's see what happens. It's ambitious. I think that's a good word. There's a lot of names. I've seen some other names that they are trying to get on board as well that they haven't announced just yet. Those are big names. There's a lot that could potentially go great. There's a lot that can't go great. I will also say this. I think having a streaming deal would be big. I think having a TV deal of some kind, of broadcast deal, if you will, would be gigantic. I think that would speak volumes, right? Like, who's the top right now? It's probably DAZN, right? If you have a deal with DAZN, if you have a deal with anyone, an Amazon, an Apple, a Max, a Prime, that is Amazon, of course.
Hulu, ESPN Plus, all the players.
Name them. That goes a long way, right? That goes a very long way. Launching on the app doesn't feel quite the same. So these are a lot of things that need to happen between now and April when they say they're going to launch. I do feel like there needs to be more players. I do feel like there needs to be more competition. And I don't say that because I'm looking for someone to take down the UFC. The UFC is going to be the gold standard from now until we're all gone. That's just a fact. The UFC is so far away and better and buttoned up. It's just a fact. It's like WWE. Like, there could be people that will pop up, but they are Kleenex when it comes to MMA. And even probably more so than WWE, if we're being honest. That's how dominant they are right now. And so I don't say that because I'm like, oh, I want some competition to take down the UFC. No, I say that because I want the fighters to have options, to have places that they can go if they're not ready for the UFC, or if they're not welcome in the UFC, or if they don't want to reset. Look at Muhammad Mokaev. he got let go. He was probably the next best guy, right? You could have made a case that he should have been next to fight Pantoja and not Urseg and not Asakura, and he has to go to Brave. You think he wanted to go to Brave? Probably not. That's no knock on Brave, but they're not considered one of the top dogs, if you will. PFL doesn't have a flyweight division, and then you're done. There's no one else, right? So having another major player would be great. Having another major player like we have in pro wrestling where, okay, AEW is there, that's your major player. But there's also even a TNA, and there's a New Japan, and there's some other leagues around the world. That's great. We don't even have that, it feels like. So I think this would be beneficial for all the fighters. I really do think so. Thanks for watching this video. Hey, before you go, do me a favor, hit that sub button, give us a thumbs up, hit the little bell thingy as well. Leave us a nice comment or two. We appreciate you all very much.